Well, I think it's about that time. When's the last time we talked about pensions? Not that long ago, but seemed like a lot of housing stuff in the way, and not looking good over there. Pensions back in our faces. Authored by Ted Dabrowski and John Klingner via wirepoints.com from Zero Hedge. $125,000. The pension debt each Chicagoan is really on the hook for. What's that? You got credit card debt? You got student loan debt? Oh, thanks to your government, the pension system, you owe all these pensioners. Each Chicagoan owes $125,000. Could you imagine that whatever city you live in, each person in the city owes $125,000 to some pension system? That's almost like saying you owe that year's salary. That's a big, nice year's salary for a lot of people. 125 if it was a year, right? Yearly. Could you come up with $125,000 just out of nowhere? Here, let me just put that over there. That's what everybody owes so that some other employee can get their pension. They got a paycheck when they worked. They got benefit. They got all kinds of stuff when they worked. Maybe like you got, maybe like you didn't get. And they got a pension. That's why it's so awesome working for the government, man. Until there's a major crisis. And they tell you, yeah, listen, about that pension you were relying on when you retired to maintain your current lifestyle. There's been a problem. There's been a disturbance in the force of the pension system. I said it before, I'll say it again. If you get a letter, notification, we're willing to settle something with pension, and it sucks, you might want to go ahead and take it anyways. And again, if it was for me, I'd be putting it right into cryptos. Sorry, I had one of my kids come in for a minute. So anyways, let's just get on with this. Chicagoans have no idea how much pension debt Illinois politicians have saddled them with. Again, Rahm Emanuel, Obama-nite. Officially, Windy City residents are on the hook for $70 billion in total pension shortfalls from the city and its sister governments, plus a share of Cook County and state pensions. But listen to Moody's Investor Service, the rating agencies that's been the most critical of Chicago's finances, and you'll get a different picture. Moody's pegs the total pension debt burden for Chicagoans at $130 billion, nearly double the official numbers. Yes, by chance, the number is eerily similar to the official shortfall of $129 billion facing the 5 state-run pension funds. But don't confuse the two. That's scary news for Windy City residents. Barring real reforms, concessions from the unions, or bankruptcy, Chicagoans can expect to be hit with whatever series of tax hikes politicians will try to enact to reduce that debt. That $130 billion is the total Moody's calculates when adding up the direct pension debt owned or owed by the city government, Chicago Public Schools, the Park District, and Chicago's share of various Cook County governments and the 5 state pension funds. Moody's takes a more realistic approach to the investment assumptions than the city and county governments take. Of course, because they always want to paint the city government, county government, they're going to always paint a better, rosier picture. Oh, it's not that bad, it's only this. But then when you look at it, no, it's worse. It's far worse than they tell us. It's that way every single time with these pensions. Every time. Officially, the 4 city-run funds have $28 billion in unfunded pension debts. Then there's another $11 billion in official CPS teacher pension debt. Add another $4 billion from the Chicago Park District and the city's pro rata share of Cook County related pension debt. Finally, add Chicagoans' $27 billion share of the state's pension debt, which is $129 billion. In total, the official debt Chicagoans are stuck with adds up to $70 billion. That's over $67,000 in pension debt for each household in Chicago. But the burden is so much higher than that. That $70 billion is based on the rosy actuarial assumptions used by the pension funds. Other financial institutions, including Moody's, use far more realistic assumptions to figure out the size of Chicago and the state's pension debt. Under Moody's calculations, what they call the adjusted net pension liability, Chicagoans' pension debt burden is far bigger. The unfunded liability of Chicago's 4 city-run funds alone, under Moody's calculation, swells to $42 billion. Chicago teacher pension fund debt more than doubles to $25 billion. And Chicagoans' share of the state's $250 billion ANPL becomes $53 billion. In all, Chicagoans are on the hook for $130 billion in unfunded, overlapping Chicago area and state ANPL, according to Moody's. This translates to nearly $125,000 in pension debt for every household. Not every person. Let me take the person part back. Every household. That means your family, your neighbor's family, each house you see on your street pretty much says, we need $125,000 from you that we don't currently have. As if you do. But with so many Chicagoans in or near poverty, 27% it says, that burden won't be distributed evenly. Expect Chicago's middle class to be stuck with an even bigger burden that makes up for those that can't pay. Chicagoans are stuck watching their elected officials do all the wrong things when it comes to pensions. Politicians have passed record property tax hikes over there. They've covered up the city's financial problems with gimmicks. They're looking at a $10 billion pension bond to paper over the crisis. And they won't even tell the truth about the massive amount of unfunded liabilities that residents are actually facing. Fixing the pension crisis in Illinois starts with telling the truth, because acknowledging the real numbers shows just how important real reform is. Take care.